I read in The Moral Animal by Robert Wright about how monogamy is a sexual redistribution strategy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so this really fascinated me. The fact that if you have one man with many women, you allow one particular man to capture most of the market. Whereas if you have one man with one woman, you actually end up allowing man number two to get woman number two. Whereas previously he would have been looking at woman number 11 because women 1 to 10 would have been with man number one. And that that kind of explains, I think, some of the resentment that you see in the black pill culture and in the incel culture around these chads, these high value men that are able to sleep with many women, because they see them as tying up available women's reproduction potential during fertile years when they could have been dating other people, and also, how would you say, kind of bunching up the line, moving the queue tighter and tighter together. In a way which has trickle-down effect that has potentially competed them out of the dating market.
Stopping it there. Okay, before we continue, hello, my name is Mika. Welcome to Mika Reacting Reviews, where we react to things on the internet, same day, same shirt, a different video. And today we're going to be reacting to someone that's part of the manosphere community. I would consider him more of manosphere than red pill. I like a lot of the discussions they have. They actually seem to be like discussions that would actually help someone and not just hyper focus on the worst type of women and to just be angry and outraged constantly, because that doesn't do anything great for your mental health. And so I like these discussions, and this one he's basically talking about why is having a large population of single men dangerous. All right, so I'm gonna get right back into it.
Absolutely. So these black bull guys will, as the meme goes, they hate Chad and Stacy. And it's funny you mentioned that, because you are correct. So, and the researcher, I forget the name that you mentioned.
Robert Wright is the book.
Robert Wright, yes, entirely correct. I think in that monogamy in the grand scheme of things is probably a newer concept, a newer thing that's come about. It was never the case in antiquity that we engage in monogamy. It was typically polygamous, right? We had harems and such, and I do think that there is an argument to be made about returning to that. Specifically, when we talk about imbalances in the sexual marketplace, with a small percentage of men hogging a large percentage of women. So if we look at Tinder data, for example, it's, most of the men on Tinder, of the profiles they come across, females, they'll swipe right on 60% of them. When it comes to females, they'll only swipe right on 4.5% of them. So that is a massive imbalance just on Twitter usage. And that is even compounded by the fact that 78% of individuals that use Tinder are male. And so 22% of people that use Tinder are female, which means of the demographic, of the smallest demographic in terms of gender, the vast majority of these women are being selected by the vast majority of men. And the opposite is not true for females.
Stopping it there. Okay, I've heard this Tinder statistic lots of times from the red pill community. However, if you look at the data and the statistics right now, both sexes and genders aren't having sex. Like Gen Z and younger millennials are the most sexless generations there is when it comes to sex in romantic relationships. So it's not just guys who aren't having sex, it is also girls who aren't having sex. So it's not like girls are just sleeping with the 1%, the high value men just fucking all the time, every time, and the guys are just sitting there and, involuntary celibate. However, I think the difference is that girls won't have sex even if they're being chased after. So like I've gone without sex for a couple of years straight, or half a year or a year straight, and it's not because I'm not getting sexual attention or or because there's no one who wants to have sex with me. I just choose not to have sex with them because I value good sex, so I'm not just gonna have sex with any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Whereas I feel like guys feel like they're not getting sex because no one's chasing after them sexually, where it might not be the case with girls. They just might not be having sex, but it's not because they don't have the opportunity, where guys feel like they just don't have the opportunity. When it comes to Tinder, just because the enchilance of Tinder are getting all the girls' attention doesn't mean they're having sex with all the girls either. As you can tell, like he just said, if there's a low percentage of women that's even on these dating sites. A lot of women aren't just fucking these guys that they swipe right on. There's been multiple times where I have swiped right on someone. I mean, it's just been for years since I've been on dating apps because they suck. You know what I mean? However, there's been multiple times where I swiped right on someone, connected, and we talk like, hey, what's up? And then I'm over it. Like, you know what I mean? So just because they're connecting and just because they're getting those women to swipe right on them doesn't mean they're having sex with these women. You know what I mean? I would like to see a more in-depth, evaluation of that. Like, they're actually having sex with these women, or are they just getting swiped right? Because a lot of these Tinder matches, they fall apart like within minutes of connecting. And the low percentage of women that's on dating apps might be, again, women aren't as, hungry to have sex with many partners, or it could be because of the birth rate. Maybe there are just more men just being born than women. I mean, if you look at abortion, even globally, the highest percentage of aborted when it comes to sex are females. So, I don't know, maybe stop dating pro-choice women. And also, I would also have to agree with the whole monogamy thing. I don't think monogamy is a natural human trait. I see the benefit in monogamy, right? Especially when it comes to paternity of children. That's the benefit. When it comes to STDs and health, that's the benefit. And then when it comes to just the stability in a household, especially if you have children with someone, that's the benefit. But I don't actually think it's a part of our human nature. At least forever monogamy. I think people can be monogamy for a span of years, but I think when people think forever, they don't realize that before people used to live until they were like 30 years old, right? We're living longer and longer. I don't think it's really natural for human beings. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, with my Republicans and my conservatives and my religious folks, but I mean, I think it's proof also in our high divorce rate. I mean, high divorce rate is that, but it's also because of our culture now. But even if you look at marriages that have lasted for 15, 20, 30 years, if you talk to those couples, a lot of them have had infidelities within their marriage, and they decided just to stay together. So even though they called it a monogamous marriage, it wasn't really monogamous because one or both parties practiced infidelity within the marriage, or non-monogamy. Let's get back into the video.
The opposite is not true for females.
Dude, I've just realized the implication of what you're saying, and I've never thought of this before. I think about this shit a lot, right? I've read everything that you've read. I've read a lot of stuff around red pill and black pill. And I've only just realized that one of the potential solutions to this is to go back to a polygamous culture, because if women can't get rid of their hypergamous nature, if we can't raise men's level of competition up in order to be able to match the women, one of the solutions to make fewer people overall be single is to have many women with one man at the top and then just leave the men at the bottom to be cast away. That's fucking terrifying.
That's terrifying, and it's not what we want to do. That is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for social upheaval and just societal disintegration, if men are simply cast aside because they're inadequate.
Fuck. But that's the case at the moment. That's the case at the moment with it being non-polygamous.
Non-polygamous, correct. So imagine a society like China, where there is a massive gender imbalance based off of the one-child policy that they initiated, centuries back. And now looking at the modern sexual dynamics, what do you think is going to come of that society in 50 to 100 years? If all of this, if our hypotheses here are correct and this plays its course.
Are you talking about if you have one man with many women?
Yes. So in essence, so as we just pointed out, it's that polygamous setup where it's one man with many women, and the rest of these men who are incapable of attaining a sexual partner are being left in the dust.
Well, the only thing that they have to bind together over is their mutual hatred of Chad and Stacey.
Yes.
Fuck, man. So I never thought of the fact that a potential solution, and I'm going to guess there'll be a utilitarian rationalist out there who would say that this is actually an optimal outcome as long as you can control this underclass of sexless men.
Yes.
That you actually end up reducing the number of people overall that are single by doing this. But you very, very much create a bifurcated society. You have the haves and the have-nots. And the Matthew principle comes out with this as well. So, I mean, as an example, I think...
Okay, before we get to his example, I think that's a terrible idea, like giving the high value, the 1%, all the women and the leftovers for the men. I think that's a terrible idea. I think it's culture, and I think it's culture's values. The fact that, like, Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time. Like this idea of high value men, I feel like it's been perverted within our society. So Dr. Jordan Peterson puts 3 different examples, right? He says if you put a rich man but a useless man, a poor man and useless man, and a poor man but useful man, that overwhelmingly women pick the poor and useful men. I think the idea that women want men in their lives that are capable of taking care of the household, protecting the family, and being ambitious enough to have enough finances to take care of his wife and kids, I think that has been perverted in our society, that women want men that can buy them Birkin bags and front lace wigs and drive a Jaguar and have millions and trillions of dollars. That has been perverted. That is not really like innate in women. We want men that are ambitious and not lazy. We want men to say, if I have a child with you, will you be able to help me financially take care of this kid? We want men that aren't cowards and that's going to protect us if someone's breaking in the house. That has been perverted to something else because our values in our societies are so fucked up. We practice junk values. So the values that we think we want in men or we teach girls to want in men is junk. The idea that the red pill community themselves act as if a hard-working, working class man is somehow the type of man that you settle for, that is proof that we practice junk values. Why is a carpenter or a construction worker or a plumber or a technician is considered, you know, the guy that you settle for, or even a garbage man? Like, why are those men considered like the bottom of the barrel when those are hard-working men, right? A lot of them had to get trades. A lot of them own their own businesses as plumbers and plumbers and technicians and something like that. Those are the type of guys that keeps your society running and functioning. So why are those men considered low value? I don't understand that, and I think it's because we practice junk values in our society. If we change that, if we change our idea of what's considered high value or what's considered high quality or a man to go after, I think you will see a shift and a change. But we don't actually do that. Even within the red pill community, they push that idea that a high value man is just someone with money. That is it. It is not someone who has values and morals and principles, or someone who's going to sit down and pray with their wife. They teach high value is just money and cars. And I understand that you're going to say, well, women go after that because those women has also been taught that that is what high value is. But there are tons of normie ass women out there that just want a regular ass dude. But the problem is with the red pill community is they hyper focus on the worst type of women and then make it seem like that's all women. And the other problem is that normie girls don't have build bodies. Normie girls don't have Instagram thought OnlyFans bodies. And that's another part of our junk values that we tell men to go after certain type of looking girls. You're not going to have a housewife that looks like an OnlyFans girl. It's not happening. So you have to ask yourself, where are my values? Do I want a regular schmegular looking girl that might look like a little bit of a potato but can be my housewife, or do I want to build a body girl that looks like she could be an Instagram thought who's not going to be a housewife? And by the way, the whole housewife thing, we don't even live in a society anymore where people can afford a housewife. So that's another stupid rhetoric that I see sometimes in the red pill community, telling men to, women to go after men so they can be housewives. Have you seen inflation? Have you seen what's going on in society? Most men can't afford a housewife. So you want a partner, not a partner as in a feminist way, but a partner that's also going to be equally contributing to the household. And not a partner that means that she can emasculate you or treat you less like a man because she has to help with the finances, but a partner that's just going to be part-time working and helping with the household and helping with the kids while you bring in the rest of the income. I really think it's just our societal values that are really fucked up. But anyway, let's continue. Been talking long enough.
Out with this as well. So, I mean, as an example, I think Robert Wright explains, I can't remember, it was in 1994 he wrote this book, man. It's so prescient. It's amazing. And, but at the time, maybe the richest man was like Warren Buffett or something. It's like a really unsexy example. And he talks about the fact that you could have the richest man in the world that's worth however many billion, and he could fund the lives using money as a proxy for resources, which is one of the fundamental things that women want from a man. He would be able to fund like 10,000 women's lives the same as one millionaire.
Yes.
And when you think about that, you go, well, okay, obviously women want more than just monetary access. They actually want emotional control, emotional connection. They want to be able to feel like they're part of a working capacity family and so on and so forth. But when you think about it like that, and if the choice is between being completely single as a woman as you get into your 30s or being one of many with a man who you know can look after you because he's one of these super earners with all of the resources and all of the status. I don't know. I don't know how tempting that ends up sounding.
Incredibly tempting, I would assume, because it's the prospect of being funded, pretty much winning the lottery ticket when it comes to these Warren Buffett types, and having to raise children with a man that you're not necessarily attracted to, or even happy with. That doesn't necessarily provide the sort of life that you want.
Well, the third option is obviously to continue leading a solo ranger life, and
yes.
I think that from a utilitarian perspective, it would why isn't everyone in a relationship with Elon Musk? Like, I should be in a relationship with Elon Musk based on utilitarian approach.
Well, it's because he's busy building rockets. I think that's what the issue is. He doesn't have the time for that sort of thing. But a terrible joke aside.
Yes.
Your point is well taken.
Yes.
Because it's, you know what it is? I think it's a matter of unfamiliarity. So this sort of dynamic that we're describing is not something that people subscribe to normally, right? Something which is entirely foreign to us, given the fact that the nuclear family and monogamy is, given the fact that these two things are still ingrained within the way we do relationships today. So while it may not be palatable today, it might be palatable in 10, 20 years' time, 50, potentially.
That was the aftershock of the Renaissance, right? As Rollo Tomassi, founder of the Red Pill, calls it, the one-itis, the belief that there is one true love. And this was very much pushed through the Renaissance. And then if you think about popular recent culture, you've got Disney movies like Aladdin that really, really just fundamentally create this. There is someone out there that is perfectly built for you, and you will spend the rest of your life together.
Before we get into his bone to pick with Disney, I'm glad he pointed out that women want more than money, because again, I feel like a red pill community always preaches that that's all women care about. But the other guy also pointed out, why would you want to go for a woman that only cares about your possessions and your monetary gains anyway? Because what you're marrying is an opportunist. You're not marrying a person who wants to be your wife, who wants to be your partner, who wants to love and take care of you. And if you get into a terrible accident and now you're shitting the bed, that she will stick by your side and change your fucking adult diapers, you're marrying an opportunist. And when you marry an opportunist, all she's waiting is for another opportunity to move on. She's going to dump your ass and go to the bigger and better thing. But again, I feel like what the red pill community does is tell men to create lives, or at least create an image that you have lots of money and lots of material possessions so you can attract a certain women. But the women you're attracting are the same women you're bitching and complaining about, which is opportunists. So again, I feel like it's a values thing. You have to figure out what is more important to you. What are your values? So I'm really glad he pointed that out. But anyway, let's continue.
It's perfectly built for you, and you will spend the rest of your life together.
Yes. So I have a bone to pick with Disney. I have an axe to grind with them, because I think the Disneyfication of romantic relationships is incredibly dangerous. So are you your parents still together?
Yes.
Yes. So our grandparents and our parents they typically have lower rates of divorce, because the basis of the relationship was not necessarily based on their happiness per se. It was more so getting things done and ensuring that these children were raised in a correct manner, right? And that often meant putting up with the opposite sex, putting up with your partner, despite the fact that they're behaving like a dickhead on that specific day. Today, things I think are different, because again, it's that Disneyfication of romantic relationships, where if it's not perfect, if it's not a fairy tale, I don't want it. And so it is subject to divorce. And it again goes back to that concept of suffering and hardship and rejection. How good was the relationship to begin with if once you hit a rough patch, you immediately give up?
I think that you see this as well with the increasing masculinization, or the masculine frame that women are being encouraged to take too. Don't settle for less, clap back, be a boss bitch. I know that these are all kind of funny Twitter memes, but they permeate, phenomenologically, they're in the back of someone's mind. They're in the back of a girl's mind. The fact that he doesn't deserve you, babe, all of that sort of stuff is averse to working through challenges with a man who is on a par with your sexual marketplace value.
Yes.
And the same thing goes for the guys. It's like plenty more fish in the sea. Get over your last girlfriend by getting under the next one. You know, there are meta memes on both sides of the fence here. Now, they're being played in different ways. The men are being reminded to reinforce their masculine traits, and the women are being reminded that a protectionist strategy is to adopt masculine traits.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like what he said with the like dealing with the idea that you are with your match, right? A lot of men talk about, you know, you see this sort of fat positivity movement, or women who really are just scrubs but think they deserve the 1%, think they should be able to get the high value men where they don't even value themselves enough to take care of their own fucking bodies. But you see that in the red pill community too. You see scrubs thinking that they deserve a submissive housewife that don't talk back to them at any point at any time. And you, like, it's not like you don't ever see mismatches. Like, I've definitely seen like girls with guys and I'm like, how did you get him, and vice versa. But for the most part, it's like, I guess it's like being realistic with yourself, knowing like what you can get and what you can't get. Like the guy said, like, well, why isn't a bunch of women with Elon Musk? It's like, because he's Elon fucking Musk. Most women wouldn't even be able to squeeze themselves into that social circle to be able to get close to Elon Musk, right? And before he was talking about like, if a 30-year-old woman is alone, wouldn't she just go with the rich guy instead of settling for love? That rich high value guy can get any woman he wants. He's not gonna go for the 30-something-year-old woman who's just desperate. You know what I mean? So you just have to kind of go for what you can get. And I know that sounds bad, and it doesn't mean you're not going to love the person you're with. That's why I don't like this whole settle thing. You know what I mean? If I'm like with my guy and I love him and we're married, I would never look at my partner and be like, I just settled for you. It's like, no, I love you. We are partners. We're together, right? And I think it's like that Peter Pan idea of like, and not the Peter Pan idea, but always like there's something gonna be better around the corner. I can get a better girl, I can get a better guy, instead of just being like, this is what I got, you know what I mean? And make it work. And the whole Disney idea of like making everything a fairy tale and one true love and you love your life and all those things, I definitely don't believe in that. I feel like you find someone that you are compatible with, you find someone you have good chemistry with in all the ways, sexually and just good banter and good conversation, that you have the same values and the same outlooks in life, and that you do love and you have a connection and affection for, and you make it work. You just fucking buckle down and you try to make it work. Trust me, you don't want to be dating for the rest of your fucking life. It sucks. Continue.
Again, what we're seeing, I need to ring Rob for like 3 hours and talk it through, but there is a masculine frame, a masculine preference, which is being, it's like when you varnish a table and it's just like a smattering across everything, or it's like the direction that the wind is pushing, whether that be with how you're supposed to spend your relationships, how you're supposed to think about education, how you're supposed to think about your career. All of these things, they really do seem to be pushing in that direction. But with the women's side of things, they're being encouraged to not accept not a subpar mate, but a difficult situation.
Middle of the road average guy.
Difficult.
But what is below average? That's the thing with values. Like for me, a construction worker is not a low value. A plumber, a technician, or a tattoo artist, or whatever, it's not low value. I feel like, for me, money doesn't make someone value. Like, again, I want you to have enough finances where you can take care of yourself when we end up having kids, that you can help finance the family. But for me, I don't think money makes someone low or high value. I think it's the quality of the person who makes them low or high value. But again, that's not the values that we cater to. And then again, I'm not talking about female nature. I agree that women want men that can be financially secure and protect the family. That is not the same as buying Birkin bags and a bunch of material possessions. That is not the same thing. We perverted that value. We perverted that natural instinct to match the junk values of our materialistic society. But let's continue.
Situation with a equitable mate.
Yes. It's a problem, and obviously you're making the point here about ideas and memes, and it's not just a meme. It's a mode of thinking that is being inculcated by young women and also young men to an extent. And it's incredibly problematic that this notion that one must not necessarily settle. It's fine, right? I don't think you should ever settle per se, but it's more so that you should be very realistic about what it is that's attainable and what it is that's out there. And life is unfair, and you're not always going to get what you want.
But the settling thing, what do you mean by settling? You can't get 3 cars? You can't live on the mountaintop? You can't live next to the ocean? Like, you can't get your hair done every 2 weeks? Like, what is settling? Like, settling to me is like being with a man that beats me. Being with a man that like verbally abuses me and gaslights me. Being a man that doesn't care about my well-being. You know what I mean? or being a man with that doesn't fuck me or something like that. Like that to me is settling. I don't know what, like, settling is different from other people, but I still think it deals with the values of our society, what people consider settling. You know what I mean? As long as you have someone that's going to be there for you and fight for you and love you and cherish you, and you are in it together and you love each other and there's affection, to me, that's what life is about. Like, all this other shit is like pluses. If you get that, great. If you don't get that, I don't understand how that's settling. Anyway, let's continue.
And you're just going to have to deal with it.
Well,
and if more people... Sorry, well, I was going to say that if more people were to come to that realization that they would just have to get on with things and just accept them as to how they are, well, it'd be a lot simpler, wouldn't it?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if the average female out there who is after, Giga Alpha Chad realizes that she can't actually attain Giga Alpha Chad, and she may in fact have to go with Storm and Norman as an example, or Joey Bag of Donuts, she'd have a romantic partner. But it's that notion of settling, being the boss bitch, which comes into conflict with it. That what she's told and what she may necessarily need are two different things.
What's happening?
But it's the same thing. Like, who wants a gig what do you say? A gig aka Chad? The Chad. Who wants the Chad all the time? Just like who wants to fucking build a body thought on Instagram? You know what I mean? It's just like the Chad, first of all, you're gonna have to constantly protect your nest, meaning you're gonna have to constantly bat off other women. The guy knows what he got, he knows his values, less likely he's gonna be faithful to you. Like, why would you want to even put yourself through that anyway? I just really honestly think it's values. I think it's societal values. If we didn't worship junk values so much in the West, then our values when it comes to dating and romantic relationships or even sexual relationships would be different. The whole the resentment that the guys that have been told that they're low value or settle me guys that they have for the Giga Chads of the world, what Dr. Jordan Peterson would say is like, you have to tap into yourself, and you can't sit there and just be mad that you're not getting as many girls as the other girl. And I guess what they were saying is biological wise is more like, oh, they're taking up the whole fertile women, whatever. I know that's not like conscious on guys' minds, but subconsciously. But it's like, instead of like being upset that you're not getting as many girls, you just work on yourself. And don't hyper focus on all those girls. Like, hyper focus on the girls that you can get. Anyway, guys, that's it. Tell me what do you think? You probably already left them. A lot of the men probably think I'm just stupid and I'm hitting the wall or some shit like that. Let me know in the comment section what you think. This video is long enough, so I'm just gonna cut it out here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.